there, me arties. Welcome back, or welcome if you're new. So wonderful to see you today. My name is Vix and this is my channel, Goddess of Gore, where I like to talk about horror, thriller, fantasy and sci-fi books. During the whole of June I will be taking part in the Once Upon A Readathon on team, you guessed it, pirates. So let's talk about the books I've picked to set sail on the seven seas, shall we?
Dark Mode.
Okay, Once Upon A Readathon, back for a second year. Last year I was on the winning team, Team Fairy Godmothers, and this year I'm hoping to be on the team of the victors once again. So the rules of the readathon are there are 4 teams. Each team has an ally. So my team, Team Pirates, is allies with the Team Merfolk, and Team Dragons is allies with Team Djinn. You get 100 points for each book that you read, an additional 50 points for reading from a BIPOC or LGBTQ+ author, another 50 points for having in my case, a water setting, 50 points for having, again, only in my case, a pirate in it. But you can also be very sneaky this year and take points off the opposing teams by reading the book with their mascot in. So that means that on Team Pirates, I would be reading a book with a dragon or a djinn in it and stealing 50 points from the opposite team. Now, I've put my choices into a kind of themed read, which are not in any way connected to the readathon. It's just for my own personal benefit, just to spread them all out. So, for Haunted Ships, I have chosen my first ever Darcy Coates book, From Below. The SS Arcadia vanished without a trace 60 years ago. No crew or ship parts were ever found, but now it's been discovered 300 miles from its last known destination through a strange and garbled emergency broadcast. Cove and her documentary team are braving the freezing waters of the Arctic to investigate this rusting wreck and maybe figure out just what happened to this supposedly unsinkable ship. But something dark and terrible is watching and waiting from below. As the ship begins to close in on them, the divers must overcome not just the usual deep sea diving obstacles, but also the terrors that the cameras are picking up just beyond their masks. And is it the trapped in tension, leaving them gasping for air? Or is their oxygen actually running out? Now, Darcy Coates has her superfans, so I'm hoping that this is going to be a load of spooky fun. Ships ahoy and batten down the hatches. Next it's pirates! And I'm starting with a terrible tale of sailing with The Butcher's Table, a novella found in the anthology Wounds, 6 Stories from the Borders of Hell by Nathan Ballingrud. The Butcher's Table is a 100 or so page novella of dark fantasy and horror set in the 18th century. It tells the story of young Martin Dunwood, who falls in love with a young girl called Alice, the daughter of a cannibalistic priest. Being a member of the Candlelight Society, a group of Satanists, Martin is planning to sail to hell and feast with the devil. Alice, kind of liking the bad boy in him, agrees to help him with his plan. Ballingrud has created a sense of dread and suspense and delivers some truly horrific moments, all of which equals a dark and disturbing tale. The setting is the real-life pirate island of Tortuga in Haiti, the perfect place for a gory horror story, and Ballingrud makes good use of the local folklore and superstitions there. And make no mistake, this is a violent book with some apparently truly gruesome scenes, but I am keen to know just how gory it really is. Next, Our Bloody Pearl by D.N. Grimm. This is a steampunk fantasy novel set in the backdrop of a war against the sirens and humans. But the sirens have nothing to fear with their hypnotic voices and their powerful tales. That is, until one pirate creates a device that renders their songs powerless. This story follows Pearl, a young siren who is captured by the dreaded pirate Kyan and locked inside his ship, starving and abused. But rescued by another group of pirates, this new captain seems different, with his brilliant smile and his promises that Kyan will never be Pearl's master again. But he's still a human and a captor in his own way. The compassion he and his ragtag human family show can't be sincere, can it? Pearl's journey across the sea to their new home is also a personal journey of her own healing. And it wouldn't be a pirate readathon without On Stranger Tides by Tim Powers. This historical fantasy blended with historical fact is a novel set in the Caribbean during the golden age of piracy and tells the story of John Shandagnac, a puppeteer on his way to Jamaica, who is given a choice after his ship is captured by pirates: join their crew or die. Assuming his new identity upon the rolling waves of the Caribbean, it's not all swashbuckling and plundering. Instead, it's more treachery and sorcery awaiting him, with strange, powerful coins, a ghost pirate and its undead crew, and the fabled Fountain of Youth. And then the last book for this theme is A Song for the Void by Andrew Piazza. This is a cosmic historical horror set in 1853 during the infamous Opium Wars between England and China. Set on the HMS Charger, British surgeon Edward Pearce and the crew chase pirate ships terrorising the waters around Hong Kong. No stranger to the opium pipe himself, Edward narrates the story when his crew spot what they think, ahoy! A comet in the sky. It's actually an eye that sends all that watch it into madness. So-called the Dark Star is a creature of lies and delusion. It plays with the crew and their perception of reality. It alters minds and senses, making them see things that aren't there and changing the appearance of objects. Underwater! Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This horror story, set in a coastal town in England, is full of superstitions and folk tales. We follow Miri, a woman whose wife Leah has been away on a deep sea expedition for 6 months. When Leah finally returns, she's different. She's withdrawn and distant, and she seems to be carrying something with her from the depths of the ocean. As Miri tries to get to know the new Leah, she begins to uncover the truth about what really happened on the expedition. She learns that Leah encountered something strange and dangerous in the deep sea, and this encounter has changed her forever. Our Wives Under the Sea is a haunting novel about grief and loss, with a wonderful underlying sense of foreboding dread and unease. The Deep by Nick Cutter, a horror novel filled with dread and claustrophobia as a crew of scientists descend into the dark depths of the very real Mariana Trench in a submarine. This is the darkest and deepest trench on Earth. A perfect place for a horror story, if you ask me. Nick has used this uncharted location to his advantage to deliver the atmosphere of complete isolation. The cure to a strange plague that is causing the population to forget small things that gradually grows and takes over until they forget completely how to function is being researched in an underwater lab until one day it suddenly goes incommunicado. Radio silence, and it's up to the small crew to descend through the unknown depths in hopes of unravelling the mysteries lurking, and perhaps to encounter an evil blacker than anything one could possibly imagine. They Came from the Ocean by Boris Basic. At a mining facility 8,000 feet deep under the ocean in New Zealand, a maintenance member has gone missing whilst out on a repair job. He went out with just 8 hours worth of oxygen in the tank and has been gone for over a day, so the rest of the crew can only hope that they find his dead body. Except, They get a distress call from him, tracked to a depth of 11,000 feet. So what else can they do but form a small crew, get suited up and attempt a rescue of their crewmate? Going deeper and deeper into the water, they soon get stranded at the bottom of a trench without the ability to call for help, and quickly realise that the rescue mission was a complete disaster, a terrible mistake, because as the oxygen timers on their own tank start ticking down, so does the darkness. Something is hunting them. One, why? You've heard of snakes on a plane, but what about vampires on a boat? Fever Dream by George R.R. Martin, a dark fantasy set in the antebellum era of the United States in 1857, and tells the story of Abner Marsh, a riverboat captain who strikes a deal with a mysterious man named Joshua Yore to build a luxurious steamboat. Meanwhile, in the south near New Orleans, a vampire named Damon Julian is living in a ruin of a plantation. He's murdered most of his slaves, sold off a better portion of the land, and now regularly buys sex slaves to feed his greedy coven, and just a general bad guy all round. But nowhere near as bad as his human servant Sour Billy. He is a former overseer who has become Julian's assistant, acquiring victims for his appetite and being a disgusting racist to boot. A warning, racist language is prevalent throughout this book, so just a heads up in case you are going to read it. So, two unlikely friends, one steamboat captain and the other vampire, go on their journey to eradicate the dark vampire population that preys on innocent people and threatens innocent vampires' existence. York believes that by controlling the Mississippi River and the steamboat trade, he can isolate and destroy his vampire adversaries. Dracula's Demeter by Doug Lamoro. This book follows the journey of the Russian ship Demeter in 1897, carrying 50 boxes of earth from Romania when it ran aground in Whitby, England. All of her crew are missing, save the captain, who was tied to the wheel with a crucifix in his lifeless hands. The only living thing aboard, a huge dog that escaped into the night. It tells the tale of the events and experiences of the ill-fated crew members and the passengers aboard that occurred during the doomed voyage of the ship Demeter, as depicted in Bram Stoker's Dracula. As the voyage progresses, the passengers begin to realise they are not alone on the ship, and that there is an evil presence lurking in the shadows. Lamoro has weaved together the classic horror story of Dracula with the suspense of a gripping thriller of the dark, foreboding ship set against the storms of the sea and claustrophobic cabins as they face the unknown supernatural presence of Count Dracula. Blood Cruise by Mats Strandberg. Yes, I'm going to try and read it again. This is a chilling story that follows a group of friends who believe they will be on a relaxing and enjoyable vacation when they go on a luxury cruise ship, the Baltic Charisma. However, as the ship sets sail, the passengers and crew realise that something is terribly wrong when some of the people on board are attacked. A mysterious and deadly virus begins to spread among the passengers, turning them into bloodthirsty creatures. Panic ensues as the survivors must fight for their lives and find a way to escape the floating horror. Lost at Sea, The Island by Richard Lehman. I will just say that Lydia from Typical Books of Terror talked me into putting this book back on my list after I watched her review of it, so I'll link the video that made me do it if you want a full read already review. I had dismissed it once, but she made me put it back on. So I'm going to say that this is probably very Lehman-y, boobs, girls, teenage hormones, and wildly inappropriate, but I'm not interested in all that. I'm here for the island of horror. So this story begins with Rupert, who gets invited to go on a family cruise, some private boat or whatever, but the tranquility doesn't last very long when the boat he's on blows up and they end up stranded on a small island. Luckily for Rupert, he's surrounded by beautiful babes of all ages, and the island has enough food and water which should last until they get rescued. But that is it. It's not long before they realise they're not alone on the island, and the inhabitants are not all friendly. In fact, they're the worst kind of landlords, sick, sadistic, depraved individuals who want to play and toy with Rupert and the other guest, with some super violent scenes from the darkest corners of nature. Will Rupert and the other characters survive? The Island. Day 4 by Sarah Lotz. The first 3 days of this cruise on the luxury ship, the Beautiful Dreamer, are relatively uneventful. The ship makes some stops at some beautiful locations. The holidaymakers get off to stretch their legs. They're well fed and entertained until day 4, when there's a fire on board and the Beautiful Dreamer is stranded at sea. The next thing the 3,000 or so people on board know, the power goes out, taking access to the internet with it, and pretty much everything that was connecting the ship to the outside world is cut off. And that's when the fun really starts for the reader. A dead body is discovered on day 4 and foul play is very obvious, though security are keen to keep the disturbing details quiet because the holidaymakers on board are one more piece of bad news away from all-out panic. Don't even think about telling them the food and water is running out. It's about the same time that people start to see things. A sickness sweeps through them all, and the supposed psychic on board is pulling premonitions from thin air that seem eerily bang on. Some spooky stuff is going to happen. A strange hand in front of a camera lens, the ghost of the dead girl seen about the ship, and rumours of the mythical lady in white floating around. Literally. There just has to be an explanation for all this, right? Right? So technically this is a sequel to the author's The Three, but I'm hoping I don't have to have read that one first, otherwise it's tough titties for me, isn't it? Here be monsters! The Sea Beasties. The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Core. This is a novella and the newest book on this list. This is a strange retelling of the Little Mermaid tale that takes it, blending elements of horror and fantasy, spins it around and around, takes it apart and puts it back together as something else altogether. But also it's more of what happened after she got married and lived happily ever after. Creepy and eerie myth-making transitioning into savagery and horror. This is not your run-of-the-mill, the beautiful mermaid who came from the sea, walked on the land and falls in love with the handsome prince legend of the Little Mermaid. Oh nay nay. This mermaid takes on bloody new life in this dark, gore-steeped journey. The dark bargains she made that put her into the palace have eventually spawned children that have cast their kingdom into vicious darkness and left bodies everywhere in their wake. This book follows the mute mermaid and her plague doctor and captures their relationship as he protects and guides her. And together, over the course of 3 brutal nights, they will discover a terrifying village filled with odd children who appear to be part of a cult controlled by 3 self-described saints who practice the most macabre forms of surgery in their pursuit of an unspeakable end. Saculina by Philip Fracassi. When Jim's brother gets out of prison, he gets roped into a family fishing trip. They all kind of need a bit of fun, so Jim is hoping that the fishing trip might be just what they all need, even though none of them have actually fished much before. A day trip out on the ocean should bring a smile to their faces, right? Wrong. Once the family are far out to sea, however, a mutant species arises from the deep abysmal darkness to terrorise the vessel and its occupants. As their own horror becomes clear, the small group must find a way to fend off the attack and somehow, some way, return to safety. But as the strange parasitic creatures overrun them, they must use more extreme and deadly measures to survive. And then, just to finish all of the watery fun off, I'm picking a water anthology The Devil and the Deep, edited by Ellen Datlow. A collection of 15 horror stories set in the sea, written by some of the best and biggest horror names, including Shauna Maguire, Christopher Golden and Stephen Graham Jones, with themes ranging from mermaids to sea monsters, from sunken ships to underwater cities. The Devil and the Deep offers an intriguing mix of horror, fantasy and science fiction. These stories range from traditional seafaring horror stories, the mysteries lurking beneath the waves, to more modern tales of psychological terror. The anthology also features a wide variety of settings, from unknown and uncharted territories of the ocean to the depths of the Mariana Trench, from the Arctic Circle to the Bermuda Triangle. And then the plus one, a book to steal the points. Well, I am a pirate, but I'm only picking one book because I'm a nice pirate. The Bone Ships by R.J. Parker. This has pirates and dragons in it, and the story takes place in a world where sea dragons are the key to naval power. The story follows Joron Twiner, a disgraced former captain of the Tide Child, a bone ship made from the bones of ancient dragons. Joron is given a second chance to redeem himself when he is tasked with leading a mission on a ship composed of condemned criminals to find and kill a new sea dragon, what could be the last remaining sea dragon that has been spotted in the 100 Isles. But there are others who would also claim the sea dragon's bones as prize for their own glory, which means that the race is now on between the warring nations and ship's crew to locate this mythical creature, and to somehow find a way to kill it without any knowledge on how to do it. So that's all the dastardly, despicable and dark books, all on the theme of water and pirates, that I will hopefully have time to get to in June, and I think they all sound like a lot of fun. Please let me know if you are taking part in the readathon, and are we enemies or allies? What do you think of my book choices for the event? Have you read any of them? Did you enjoy them, and do you think that I will? What are your plans for June? Are you thinking about your own trips to the sea? I hope you don't come up against any of the themes of my reads. I can only imagine booking yourself on an exclusive yacht or cruise and find something ancient and hungry waiting for you. Thank you so much for watching this TBR video. I hope you got some inspiration for your own reads, either now or in the future. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already and want to stick around for a little longer to see what I thought about these books, as I do updates weekly about my reading. I will leave you with a great quote I found about the water theme from The Devil and the Deep. The sea coughed us up, but someday it's going to reclaim us, and there's precious little that we can do about it. Make some good book choices this week, my friends, and I hope to see you all again soon. Until next time, bye-bye. Right, now walk the plank.